Hey, young people! Man, this video is going to be taxing, but if it was up to me, I'd show this to every 13-year-old kid out there and give them a taste of reality and consequences and choices and how bad choices can change your life in a minute and the consequence of those choices. Uh, this is Larry Singleton. I first met old Larry back in 78. And he became a household word around that time. Good old Larry, being a nice guy he is, stopped and picked up a hitchhiker, 15-year-old girl, and gave her a ride. And her story is just heartbreaking. I'm going to let her tell it in her own words from I Survived. And I'll just make some comments through the video. This is the part of the consequences. This 15-year-old ran away from home and was hitchhiking. Started a destructive path that would shape her future.
Back then, hitchhiking was a really big thing. So there were people everywhere with signs and, saying, I'm going here, I'm going there. And I had a sign saying that I was going south. And a man pulled up in a blue van. There were two other people behind me who had the same sign, going in the same general direction. And when the man pulled up, they noticed he had an empty van. There was nothing in the back. But he said he only had room for one person. The other two people behind me said, you shouldn't go in there. If he's not willing to take other people and just a female, that's not the safest bet. But at the time, I wasn't thinking about that.
This is a key. I want you to notice her just almost non-emotional way she describes this incident. She's still kind of disconnected from it. Her first choice was, of course, running away. Then she decided to hitchhike. And now she sees a guy with a van. And he only wants to take her. The van's empty. And two other people warn her that this isn't a good idea. And she gets in anyway.
That I wasn't a daredevil or anything. I was just desperate to get home. I could not live another day out alone.
Desperation makes people do unwise things, and there's consequences for actions.
I didn't think about what type of person he was or the situation. I was tired. And he seemed like a grandfather type figure.
Looks don't mean anything. You can't pick. I mean, some people just look evil, and they may be nice. Some people look nice, they can be evil. You can't go on looks. That's the idiot that we're raising kids to be ignorant now with kind words like tolerance, acceptance, don't judge people. That's what got this girl in her position.
I was just so exhausted. I dozed off for a little bit. And when I woke up, I noticed that the signs were different and they were heading in the opposite direction. and I picked it up and said, "Look, you're going the wrong way, and you know you're going the wrong way." He pulled over in the middle of a deserted road. I then thought, well, I'm in trouble. And I looked down and noticed my tennis shoe was untied. Now, if I'm going to be able to outrun this person because I'm young, he's old, I'm healthy, he's not, I better tie my shoe. So I opened up the passenger door, got out to tie my shoe.
So again, she's making assumptions that he's old, she's young, she's healthy, she's fast, she can get away. She left out the equation that she's a 15-year-old female and he's a grown man. And again, teenagers can't see around corners. And she didn't see around corners. She got in a van after she was told not to. She was hitchhiking. She ran away. She got in a van and went to sleep. And when she went to sleep, when she woke up, too many things that started in process.
That's when a sledgehammer hit me on the head. And I blacked out.
Now remember, she thinks it's already bad. She has no idea how bad it's going to get.
When I came to, I was tied up in the back of his van. He began raping me.
So she's been taken to a hidden area, hit in the head with a sledgehammer, tied up, and now has been raped. And she probably thinks it can't get much worse.
I asked why he was doing this. There was no response. He raped me a few times, probably about 6 times, and he fell asleep, but I couldn't get away because I was completely tied. I wanted to die. That was the worst feeling I've ever felt.
That's interesting that at that point she wanted to die, and her story's about survival.
That's all I was thinking. Please, God, kill me now. Can't handle it. The whole time I was just telling him, please, just set me free. Let me go. Set me free. I remember the words. Just set me free. I won't tell. And he kept raping me till the next day. And I was awake the whole time. And I was awake till I saw the sun starting to rise. We're still in the middle of nowhere. And he pulls me out. And I'm completely naked and already bleeding. And he said, "You want to be set free? I'll set you free." And he pulled out a hatchet from his toolbox and took my left arm and took one swing, and I started to fall. And then he took another swing, and I grabbed his arm, grabbed it real tight, and I couldn't figure out, I'm holding him real tight on his arm, but I'm still falling. I looked down at my arm, and there was nothing, just blood squirting out. I felt all the pain, the sharpness, the burning, and when my blood was leaking out of my body, I felt the hot ooze just flowing out of me. I felt everything. I was aware of everything, and the pain was so excruciating. And he then took my right arm, and I started kicking and screaming, hoping someone would hear me. And I'm just kicking nonstop. And he started to chop my right arm off. But because I'm still kicking and screaming, it took longer, so he had to keep chopping away at my arm. When he was done chopping my arm off, I lay there bleeding, but I could see him at a distance, and he was flicking his arm. And I couldn't figure out why until I looked at the end of his arm. My hand was still clutched onto him real tight, and he was trying to flick it off. At that point, he started to drag me. And I think he thought I was dead because I just lay still and didn't move. And he threw me off a 30-foot cliff.
This guy, Larry Singleton, cut her arms off, raped her, a 15-year-old girl, and threw her over a cliff.
I just didn't know he drove off. I didn't know if he was waiting or what, but I just laid there, bleeding to death. And I got tired. I got really sleepy and cold. And all I wanted to do was go to sleep. But all I heard was a voice saying that I can't go to sleep. He's gonna do this to somebody else. And I can't let that happen.
Everybody in life or death situations finds something that keeps them going. It's easy to give up. Remember earlier, after she was raped, she wanted to die. And now she's struggling as she gets closer to death to live. A mindset of survival is never getting to the point that I want to die. You want to be in that mindset. Had she been in that mindset from the jump street, she probably wouldn't have gotten a car. Probably wouldn't have been hitchhiking. Maybe not run away from home. Choices have consequences. And we don't teach that to people anymore. We teach love and tolerance and acceptance, and everybody's good and we shouldn't judge, and flowers and hugs will solve everything. And it's just not reality.
That's what was going through my heart, my mind, and my soul. And I couldn't have him do that to another girl. I stuck my arms in the dirt to pat my arms so that they won't bleed so much, and the dirt would act like mud and it'll stop some of the bleeding.
That's a very smart and thinking move. She's in survival mode, probably in shock, but for her to have the thought process at 15, after being raped and having her hands cut off, to think that mud will harden and dry, create a crust, and will slow blood loss, pretty smart.
I crawled back up the cliff without any hands. It was dark. It was very, very dark. And I could barely see. I mean, had it not been for the moon or the stars, I wouldn't have been able to see anything. But I could hear the faint sound of traffic somewhere over the hill. Like there has to be a freeway somewhere. I'll just follow that noise.
What she's describing is a fight and flight survival instinct, and when I talk about a lot in my videos, she said she could see by the moonlight and the stars. She doesn't realize that because she was in that fight or flight, she had the adrenaline rush, her body was adjusting. When you go into fight or flight, your eyes dilate to take in as much light as you can, and they get very, very large so you can see better, and it gives you better night vision so you can avoid danger and escape danger. And she also says she heard the faint sound of the highway. Doing loud signs, your body will shut down your ears for auditory exclusion. But it also increases and enhances your ability to hear more. So her senses are actually increasing, and she doesn't realize that, and it really doesn't matter. I'm just saying that for personal knowledge, because I think it's very important that people understand fight or flight and how it affects the body.
I just walked until it started getting daylight. And the first car that came, it was a red car with no top on it. It was one of those sporty type cars. And there were...
Notice in all her explanations, she's pretty detailed. She remembers a lot. In life or death, when you get in a shooting in a fight or flight, you kind of lose memory a little bit, but it comes back later. So when she's recalling all this, she's explaining it in great detail, and you can kind of tell she gets that blank look, and she's like looking into her mind, pulling up these facts. Man, just an incredible story.
Two guys that were driving it says, help me. But, I mean, think about it. I have no hands now, and I'm covered from head to toe in blood. I look like something from a Fright Night movie. And they took off. So all I could think of was, I'm gonna die out here. Because everyone's too afraid to even stop.
I hope those two guys feel like crap. And this is going to be judgmental, but I can almost guarantee those guys were not vets. Because there's no way that a vet, I don't think, I'm sure there's exceptions and not all vets are perfect, but most vets would not drive by somebody in a road needing help like that.
So I kept walking in the middle of the road, and that's when the second person came, and it was a honeymoon couple that had gotten lost. They just tried to help me up into the truck and said, lay still, we'll get you there, and they raced really fast. I mean, it was an old truck, but I could hear the wheels peeling out.
She remembers it was an old truck, and she even remembers the wheels peeling out. That's some pretty detailed memories. Another thing about people stopping is most women will not pass another woman that needs help because they understand. And the two guys that drove past her, man, I hope they feel like shit if they hear this story.
They were able to get to a phone to call the paramedics. I lost over half the blood in my body, and the rest of the blood in my body got to a toxic level, but my body took it because I guess I was that desperate to live. I was scared because he was just a few feet from me when I was in the witness stand. He was only like 10, 15 feet from me. When he was done testifying and I was leaving the courthouse, I had to pass him just inches away, and I heard him say, "If it's the last thing I do, I will finish the job," quote unquote.
So, a good DA would have charged him with intimidating a witness right there and added another charge and would have brought him back to court. People heard that, and he should have been charged. When he was released early from jail, there was so much outrage and protest, people cornered him and tried to kill him. They had to move him back to a prison in a trailer paid for by taxpayers to protect him. He got out in 7 years.
I never knew that there could be people like that in the world.
That's a statement I hear all the time from victims. And, I mean, for me, living my life and seeing evil almost on a daily basis, I just can't imagine people can't believe there are evil people that will do outrageous, unbelievable things and will have no remorse. And this guy had no remorse. He didn't care. Never apologized, never accepted, threatened to kill her. And when he got out of prison, he went and killed another woman and finally got the death sentence in Florida. But he did not get killed by the state. He died of cancer in prison.
And I pray to God I never know another. He was sentenced on death row, but he wasn't executed. He died of cancer. I didn't feel relief when he had died. I needed to know what was in that dark soul of his. I felt that I was robbed of that opportunity.
Somebody that's never been a victim doesn't understand that. They're like, how could she want to hurt somebody? How could she feel hate? He was a poor, misunderstood man that made a mistake. He should be forgiven and we should be tolerant. He should be able to live his life. That's BS. This guy deserved to die a horrible death, and I hope he did die a horrible death.
But because of my sons, I saw the relief on their faces that made me realize okay, that's good enough closure for me. I don't have to worry about my son's lives anymore. It's God and my sons that keep me going. They keep me loving life more than most people. I appreciate it more, and I'm just glad that I'm given another chance at life, that I didn't die.
So Mr. Singleton is dead, and he should have been dead long before he was allowed to live in prison for as long as he was. This is an incredible, sad story. I will put a link in the description of this if you just want to watch her story without me interrupting and without all the pop-ups that I've put in this video. You can go down the description and click on that link, and I just uploaded the video straight without any talking in case you want to share either one. All right, we'll end that there. A lot of lessons here. And again, a lot of people wouldn't want to show this to kids because it's too gruesome. It might give them nightmares, and we need to protect them. Kids need to understand evil exists, and when you make bad decisions, you're going to be a victim. And she could have prevented all of this from happening, and I'm not blaming her. People don't want to hold people accountable because we're too much, oh, well, that's bullying, and you can't talk about her, and she's a strong woman, and she survived, and you should never say anything bad. I'm not cracking on her. She knows she made bad decisions. I'm sure she beats herself up. Had she not run away, has she not hitchhiked, has she not fallen asleep, has she listened to those people on the road, I'm sure she questions herself all the time from that. And it's not picking on her. It's learning from others' experience so you don't have to relive their negative experience. All right. Good lessons here, and I know it's not normally my upbeat video, but I think it's an important message, and we'll end that there.